Superhero Stuff You Should Know is part of the Greenlit Podcast Network.
Hey, this is Ben from Superhero Stuff You Should Know, and I have an important announcement for you guys. At the end of every single episode of Superhero Stuff You Should Know, you might hear us shout out to our fans, one of whom is Matt Herring, who was one of the original Superhouse fans. He's always given us his support, and now it's time that we support him. We've just recently found out that Matt has been diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. And as a cancer survivor myself, I know personally that there's a lot of emotional and financial strain that comes into that. His wife, Kelly, has set up a GoFundMe account at gofundme.com/f/Matthew-kicks-cancer039s-butt. And hopefully you can help reduce the financial strain to that, as well as some of the emotional strain that comes with that. Again, that's gofundme.com/f/Matthew-kicks-cancer039s-butt.
Matt Herring was the first, I guess you could say, true Superhouse fan. We were Superhouse at that time. The first fan of this podcast and what we do here, and has always supported us, talked about us, and he's from a town close to where I'm from, and so we share that as well, and just a huge superhero fan, and nerd like the rest of us, and now he's going through that, and if you could donate just at least any amount of money to that link that Ben just said, that would be truly appreciated. Just hang in there, Matt. You'll beat this thing soon. Father, I've come to seek your counsel. I am having problems in Metropolis.
My son, you may not remember me. I may look a little different from you. It's because I, before sending you to Earth, made you look like a human. But really, I am very round and full of poppy seeds, and maybe a little bit of cream cheese.
Father, your use of metaphor is quite intriguing.
I didn't realize it was a metaphor. I thought I really looked like a poppy seed bagel.
Wait, let me get this straight. Let me turn on the hologram. Oh my god!
Yes, I was telling you, son. I was trying to warn you before you turned on the hologram.
Kryptonians are sentient bagels.
That's pretty much it.
So, how exactly did I get to look like this, Father?
I experimented on a lot of animals. You could have been a contender for other animals, but I decided a human would probably be best.
Wow.
Anyway, my son, what type of guidance did you want on this, the day of my daughter's wedding?
I've sort of lost the thread because I can't believe that I have bagel DNA. When you initially said that you were round, I thought it just meant that you were rotund, a little bit plump.
Please don't body shame me. We're very progressive over in Krypton.
I thought it was Krypton, but okay.
No, I call it Krypton. Believe me, I was paid $19 million to call it Krypton.
Okay, so anyway, I've been having problems with a girl at work. You see, she likes me, but not for who I am. It's hard to explain. Do you have any advice about human women?
I only have one. You gotta make her an offer she can't refuse.
What does that mean exactly, Father?
It means whatever you want it to be, my son. But for this advice, you have to promise, when you come back, one day, I'll ask you a favor, and you will say yes. Here you go, my son. Let me sprinkle some poppy seeds on you.
Okay. Alright.
And please, I hope this girl, she's Jewish.
Don't know why that matters, but, I'll ask.
It's because of your creators, Siegel and Schuster. They were Jewish.
I thought you were my creator, Father.
Well, I was also created by Siegel and Schuster.
So who created them?
Wow, come on, it's Kryptonian culture.
This is deep.
Welcome to Superhero Stuff You Should Know. I am once again the man who knows too much about Batman, but we are not talking about Batman today. Plot twist. Alright, this is Ben, and with me is...
It's Andrew, everybody. How's it going? Let me just say, I'm gonna take my mic off. Fuck this stand. I'm excited.
Breaking the rules already.
I'm excited for Superman. Let me just put that out. I mean, of course I love the Bat, but it's nice to have a change of pace.
Hopefully,
every now and again. I mean, we did Superman a little bit before.
Yeah.
Did I say my name is Andrew if you're first time joining here? But
this is Andrew, everybody.
But yeah, I'm excited. Let's do it, Ben.
All right, so as you guys can see if you're watching the YouTube version, we are going to be covering Superman, specifically the Superman movie from 1978.
Woo!
However, there is such an epic story on how this movie got made that this episode will solely cover how that actually got made. So we will not be covering the movie stuff yet, but don't worry, it is arguably just as interesting as the actual movie.
This is a deep dive into the build-up to Superman 78.
Because Superman 78, it's I mean, let's face it. It is, without it, there would be no superhero movies, no Marvel movies. It is the quintessential origin superhero movie.
It's the first legit one. We had Superman and the Mole Men.
Yeah.
And like maybe a Shazam movie made for TV movies.
Yeah, all serials from the 40s or stuff that was like TV spin-offs, like the Batman 66 one.
Right.
And I'm sure they're enjoyable for what they are, but this is the first time where they're like, hey, this is an actual, let's like treat the drama of this. This is not for laughs.
Serious take.
Right.
I mean, the only fact that comes into me right now is had the most expensive opening credits of all time.
We'll go in a little bit into that, I think. But
if we get that far. In this one.
Well, we'll see. But, I mean, it's most known for director Richard Donner, John Williams' score, but, of course, Christopher Reeve as Superman, Margot Kidder as Lois Lane. But just to give you guys a little bit of preview, this episode is about how we almost didn't get Richard Donner as director, almost didn't get John Williams as composer.
Oh, shit.
Almost didn't get Christopher Reeve or Margot Kidder in these roles either.
78, so John Williams was just coming off of Star Wars.
And Jaws, yeah.
Yeah. What year was Jaws again?
I want to say 75, 76.
Oh, yeah, something like that. So it's before even Star Wars.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, John Williams is really ramping up at this time.
Yeah, but I can't imagine this movie without those components.
I mean, yeah, no one can.
Especially
really.
the Superman theme.
Yeah.
So we'll jump right into it. But first off, I want to do a quick corrections department. On our Dark Detective deep dive. We had a bit of discussion on Neil Adams, and I said that he may be a flat earther. I looked it up.
Oh man, I love it.
And it turns out he is not a flat earther at all. He is something very wild and interesting. Apparently, he believes that the Earth is growing.
Okay, I got to tell you, I don't think it's as bad as flat earthers. I'm sorry if you have flat earther fans out there, but if you believe the Earth is growing, at least that leaves room for the Earth still being round.
Yes.
I think it's very important that you know that the Earth is round. Spherical, as it were.
Yes.
So, Neil Adams, even though you made fun of me and my film at a convention, I'll let this slide because everybody's allowed their weird beliefs,
right?
Exactly. So it's fine.
Just wanted to clear that air in case anybody saw that episode and is like, "Oh my God, Neil Adams is a flat earther." He is not, but he does believe in some interesting theories about the Earth.
I mean, I like Grant Morrison, and he believes in all kinds of bullshit.
Yeah, that's true too. So just throwing it out there. So let's see. Let us then jump into the beginning of the Superman movie. So just like in the development of the 89 Batman movie, which you guys can check out when we talk about the in our backlog, Ben reviews the Batman script from 1982. There was Michael Uslan, who was very much about like, I want to make a serious Batman movie. I want to get this made.
Right.
I'm a producer. Let's do this shit. And it took him 10 years.
Yes.
If we were to have an equivalent, it would be a man named Ilya Salkind.
Okay.
So Salkind had a bit more of an advantage over Uslan. Uslan was like a former college professor, worked at DC. He did produce movies and stuff, but he wasn't nearly as big as the Salkinds. The Salkinds were huge.
Okay, yeah. This name is familiar. I might have heard this from Kevin Smith podcast or something.
Yeah. So these guys are very important for the development of this. So
they are not American, correct?
They are not American.
They are also immigrants.
Yes.
Right. So they're trying to tell the ultimate immigrant story.
That's true too. Actually, that did not come up when I was reading the research on it, but that makes a lot of sense.
I think that there's obviously something going on there.
Yeah.
Probably.
So it's a father-son team, the Salkinds. When we call them the Salkinds, we refer to Ilya and his father Alexander.
Okay.
But Ilya was the one who, this was his brainchild. Alexander did not really know that much about Superman.
Okay.
Before this. The previous credits included The Three Musketeers and The Four Musketeers, which were two movies in 1973 with Richard Lester as director. Now, the reason why that's significant is because, A, Richard Lester would go on to direct Superman 2 and 3.
Okay.
This started it was the first idea of filming multiple movies back to back.
They've never done that before.
It came from the Salkinds, yeah.
Wow.
And that actually led to a dispute in SAG in terms of wait, did you pay for one movie or two movies? to your cast and
that would
crew.
be problematic.
So this resulted in what is now called in every SAG contract a Salkind clause, requiring that an actor be compensated for each film that he or she is part of.
That's interesting.
So you guys can thank the Salkinds for screwing that up.
To give a little bit of insight, I mean, I'm not like in the producing game or whatever, but I mean, we're both in the film industry in some capacity. And like the way a movie or a TV show works, especially a movie, even though there's a company like Warner Brothers at the top, the movie itself almost functions as like a miniature company for a while. So it's like that company has hired you for that company, and then when that company's done, I guess the way they're looking at it is in Superman 2, they're moving on to the next company. I don't know how it works. But it just kind of has a vibe of like the movie itself is a company it's a subsidiary of Warner Brothers in a sense.
Right, yeah.
That's the vibe it kind of that I get from it.
So that was what they were mostly known for in the 70s, and Ilya Salkind comes up with the idea for a Superman movie in 1973. Yeah. So it doesn't take nearly as long for him to get Superman off the ground as it did for poor Michael Uslan.
It's funny, man. Like, Superman was really OG, and then Uslan was the one that turned it around and to where Batman's really number one and stayed that way for a long time. And Superman, everybody thinks Superman's lame now, but there was a long time where Superman comics outsold Batman. Yeah, Superman was more popular than Batman.
Look at that radio show that we covered, where Batman was like seemed like he was the lamest thing.
Yeah, he would just they didn't figure out Batman for a while. Superman kind of came out more or less figured out.
Exactly,
seemingly anyway.
So funny enough, just like how the Mark of Zorro, according to Frank Miller, was the movie that sort of slightly inspired Bruce Wayne to become Batman. Yeah, Zorro was kind of an inspiration for Ilya Salkind. So his clearest, basically his first memory of getting this idea is when he saw a billboard for a Zorro movie in the 70s. Okay. And I think that was the one, because he said it's for a French film, so I think that was the one with Alain Delon, who was a French actor who played Zorro randomly enough.
Have not seen it.
I have not either, but apparently it's on Amazon Prime, so I guess I'll check it out sometime.
Okay, that's cool.
So he's just like, okay, costume hero, what's probably the biggest costume hero out there, in my mind? Superman. Okay. And especially it's built for American audiences because he's very much a producer. He wants to make sure he gets butts in seats. Right. So they have to go to Warner Brothers because Warner Brothers does own DC property at this point.
And this is the point where they get literally laughed out of rooms for a long time?
Not quite. So this is not quite like Michael Uslan's journey. Okay. Because, again, the Salkinds already have clout. Okay. And so they have a little bit more power in terms of how to make this thing go. Okay. Warner Brothers, however, is still not interested in making it because in their mind, any comic book stuff, even though they own DC properties, any comic book thing is going to be Adam West. Adam West.
Oh yeah, that's the only thing at this point, huh?
That's the big thing.
From 66 to 78.
Yeah, and sure, like there was a George Reeve show, but like that was like decades ago at this point.
That was 10 years before Adam West.
Yeah. Sadly, there was no Superman show at the same time as the Batman show.
Interesting to think, like, so that Adam West ends in 69. So we have basically less than 10 years between Adam West to 78 Superman, which, wow, that's pretty cool. And they start filming, obviously, 2 years probably before that.
Yeah, which is, I think we came up in the right time where it was like superhero movies were kind of few and far between, and now suddenly it's ramped up. I would have hated to have lived in the 70s or 80s where you're just like, oh man, are we going to get a Batman movie?
Growing up in the 90s, it was like we got one every now and again. Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously we got Batman movies, but I mean not. Well, yeah, X-Men came in 2000. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, the 90s were. I think the 90s were kind of a weird era for movies.
Just in general,
Yeah. It was lower quality overall compared to the 80s when it comes to just genre filmmaking, I think.
Yeah, they're not as, like, classic, it feels.
I mean,
people don't have the same nostalgia for it.
It just seems like we had, like, think about Ghostbusters. It's just one example, but like it seems like the 80s had like a bunch of properties that had music along with it, and the music was also classic as fuck. Was it Ray Parker Jr. song?
Yeah,
like that. I mean, we had Men in Black, but
that's not quite the same.
Yeah. It doesn't. It's not
nearly as memorable.
Not nearly as memorable as the Ray Parker Jr.
You can do lyrics to Ghostbusters, but like on the spot, do you know any of the lyrics of Men in Black other than
the
Men
chorus?
In Black?
No, and the chorus also taken from a fucking older song. I hear the older song now. That's one of the ones I didn't know. I grew up with a lot of older music thanks to my mom. I did not know that was based on another one, but it's like highly sampled from an older song. And every time I hear the older song now it comes on, I don't know. I don't even listen to the radio that much, but anyway, to make a long story short, I always think it's Men in Black, and then the fucking other people are singing. I always think it's Will Smith about to say something.
Got it.
Back to Superman.
Back to Superman, though. So the Salkinds can do something that Uslan can't when he tries to do Batman, which is they do the negative pickup deal. What that means is that the Salkinds have the money to make the entire fucking thing, and all Warner Brothers has to do is distribute it.
I gotta ask, where are they getting their money?
I don't know.
Okay, we're gonna look into this.
Shit. I mean, maybe previous productions, because again, like they're pretty big at this point.
Yeah, so they're coming in with clout.
Yeah.
And a shitload of money. Mm-hmm. All right, I'd like to know this for the next time.
So
if you out there know, please comment.
Warner Brothers is like, all right, cool. We can't say no to that. So they're down for it, and the Salkinds get the rights. And apparently, what's part of this deal is that they have access to any character that's ever been in a Superman comic, which means, according to Ilya, that if they wanted to, they could have had a Justice League. They could have had Wonder Woman, Batman, Flash. He's basically was like, we couldn't do Batman on his own, but we could put Batman in a Superman movie. And immediately I was just like,
interesting.
Could you imagine a Batman just show up randomly in like Superman 3 with Christopher Reeve?
It would have changed the course. Like, people would have seen superhero movies as mainly team-up movies for a long time.
Yeah,
probably.
if they decided to do that.
Yeah.
So
it would have been Batman and Robin at least.
Probably too, yeah.
You know, from the get-go.
And I imagine it might have even have been a different costume than Michael Keaton's. I'm imagining him in like Neil Adams blue and gray and
that's
shit,
true. It would have been a lot lighter.
Yeah, because like Michael Keaton was the first time there was a Batman in a black outfit.
Yeah. And so he's never been black before.
It was all multicolored in the
gray and black.
Yeah,
the whole time pretty much.
Serials, you can kind of see it's pretty close.
So Burton is the one that was like, okay, we're going all black.
Yeah,
that's interesting because I mean, I saw that movie before I saw obviously the BTAS. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it really, we talk about this all the time, but that was my first Batman. So my first Batman really is that black suit.
Yeah, exactly. Same here. Same
here
on that. So 1974, they get the rights to this, and so it's Ilya, his father, Alexander, and basically their producing partner named Pierre Spengler. So it's these three, and they're like, okay, the first thing we need to do is figure out who's writing this thing. So
who's the best writer in Hollywood?
Well,
on the little guy that fucking wrote The Godfather, baby. Mario
Puzo, who's credited, however, he was not the first person they turned to.
Okay.
Julie Swartz, who was the main one running DC Comics at the time, he recommends Alfred Bester, who we actually mentioned in the radio episode.
Interesting.
Because he was the author of the Green Lantern Oath, and his wife, Raleigh Bester, was the original Lois Lane actress on the radio.
Okay.
The very first one to bring her to life. However, Alexander Salkind felt this guy's not famous enough. We need a big name for this script. So sorry, Alfred Bester.
I don't know if you know how much money I do have, and I'm willing to spend a little bit more.
Yeah.
Let me just put it that way. Who's the best you got?
So they get the Godfather author himself, Mario Puzo.
I realized that, I think, in high school, because I was getting into film. Godfather's brought up. It's like Citizen Kane and all that shit. I know the name Mario Puzo, then look at Superman. It's like, that's a fucking same guy.
Yeah.
It's really surprising at first.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I mean?
It is. But apparently he was enough of a Superman fan, or he liked what he felt was like a Greek mythology, Greek tragedy aspect to it.
It's all all there.
So he
what this guy did,
exactly what Uslan was talking about.
I mean, they get the Godfather guy. I just love that aspect. Like, hey, I can write serious gangster shit, but I can also give a really well done, endearing, still comic booky feel to this character as well. We're making the first real one. Here's 400 pages of a script. I know we're going to get there, but
apparently it was 500 actually.
500?
It was a 500 plus page script that was kind of the foundation for both Superman and Superman 2. So that's two movies.
Yeah.
But even then, if you split that in half, that's 250 pages for one movie.
Yeah.
So
and also another film industry insight.
Yeah.
Rule of thumb is a page a minute. So generally a 90-page movie is an hour and a half. Mm-hmm. Generally.
Yeah.
Of course that changes, but it's generally how people look at it. So 250 minutes, is fucking an epic. That's ridiculous.
It'd be right out the gate being like, fuck it, we're endgame already. Like,
Yeah,
we're already
yeah.
a 3-hour epic
Yeah,
Superman
yeah,
movie.
yeah. Which is, I mean, I would have seen that shit, but I can see why they wanted to cut it.
This is one of those scripts that I wish was on the internet because I want to read it. Yes, all 500 pages on a rainy day. Just sit down, put
Fuck
on
yeah.
some of the
You
John
kidding
Williams
me?
score, listen to the original Mario, or read the original Mario Puzo draft. Would be fantastic.
DC, Warner Brothers, listen to us right now, okay? You put that out there, you sell it for like $10 on Kindle. Don't even have to really publish it.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
You just get a good scanner.
Get a good scanner, put that out there on Amazon
Yeah.
or get some fucking thing on DC Universe. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, put it on your DC Universe
I would
app.
love it. The DC Universe Infinite had like access to all these scripts that were
Just
never
scripts?
released.
That's a good idea,
Get us
actually.
Batman Unchained, you know.
Put us in charge. Look,
Please.
I can scan scripts, okay? It's not a problem. Where we used to work, there was a place that scanned.
Oh yeah.
I went to this
Scripts
room.
specifically.
No, they scanned comics for, I think, DC Universe.
Oh, interesting.
Or it was at the office that I think that you weren't there. I don't want to give too much info on
alright.
that.
Yeah.
But
I get it.
I walked into the room like, yeah, we're scanning comics. And I was like, oh, shit.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, apparently at the comics at the time, Clark Kent was a TV reporter.
Okay.
And Puzo was told by the Salkinds, don't make him a TV reporter because we just did a survey and everybody remembers him at the Daily Planet. And probably that's because of the George Reeves show, if I'm going to guess.
Probably, yeah.
Or people who grew up with it were thinking more of the comics they were reading, which was years ago, not the ones that were currently out there.
Yeah, it's funny because we always say, you know, it's not my Batman, not my whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Smith said that whenever he was like, God, a teenager, he and his dad go see in '78 in the theater, Superman '78.
Yeah.
And his dad said, it's not my Superman. It's
George Reeves.
George Reeves was his. You know what I mean? It's just this generation thing.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, I mean, it was a great interpretation in most people's opinion, I think.
Yeah.
But it's just, you know, people grow up with different shit. But yeah, the George Reeves one, yeah, I can see people just still, you know, even though the comics had moved on,
Yeah.
I could see that still being in the collective unconscious at the time.
Yeah, definitely.
You know?
So that was enough in there that they had to make sure that he was still at the Daily Planet in it.
Yeah.
Puzo at one point said that he did what he could. He wrote a second draft and then he left. He said, I'm out. So
Okay.
The Salkinds still wanted writers on it. So that's when we get the next writing team.
Okay.
Robert Benton and David Newman. Now, why were they hired? Because they wrote the Superman musical.
Oh, there was.
There's
Do we have any footage of that? Like with the Batman musical?
It was produced, unlike the Batman musical, and it was made into a television movie in 1975.
That's right.
It's called It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Superman.
You know, fucking not Danny O'Neill, our friend Neil Adams. He was telling me, not me. I've seen interviews of him saying this. He had to get Siegel and Schuster like tickets to it because DC was not giving them any money at all. I think was it Siegel? I forget. One of them is like pretty much completely blind, legally blind at that point because he always had eye problems. And he was working in like some fucking like stamp shop or some shit. It's really sad, dude. And then Neil Adams had to fight for them. Again, this is Neil Adams being a cool guy.
Yeah.
We just took a shit on him earlier. But he had to fight for them to get actual fucking money.
Yeah.
And he was like, he told Siegel and Schuster, hey, did you see the play on Broadway? He's like, no, I can't afford it.
Jesus.
Because, you know, those tickets are like $300, $400 a person.
Yeah.
It's like, are you fucking
Craven
kidding
Superman
me?
can't even see their own goddamn play.
That's ridiculous,
Yeah.
dude. Yeah. Anyway, back to happier things.
Yeah, but so Benton and Newman, and Benton became too busy directing at one point, so they brought in another writer who was David's wife, Leslie, and she was basically brought on to punch up Lois Lane, which sounds like they were like, "You're a woman, right? Write the female part."
You're like a girl, right? He was woke, though. He didn't want to assume gender, okay?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah.
Their script was submitted in 1976. However, it was said to be extremely campy, and we'll get into that when I compare the script to the movie in the future episodes that we'll do on this movie. But it was not really... I mean, the Salkinds liked it, but when we get into the guys who actually made the movie, they were like, this is not how we're going to do this. We have to take this seriously. So this idea of even taking Superman seriously didn't quite sink in yet. It was
they didn't really quite get it.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm sure Puzo had the whole feeling of Greek tragedy stuff, but I'm sure the Salkinds were like, it's too. Maybe they thought it was too serious. I don't know. I haven't read the script.
Right.
But maybe they thought, let's add some humor to punch it up, and so these writers from the Superman musical were like, you want humor? Let's throw it into every page, and so that's what they did.
Stupid shit, probably.
So Superman 2 are now 400 pages combined. So they cut 100 pages and added a lot of camp.
A lot of stupid jokes, probably.
But also 200 pages per each movie, still.
Yeah.
So
200 minutes.
That's still too much.
Yeah.
But whatever the case is, they're trying to get
2 hours, 120, right? So.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
we're,
exactly.
We're 3 hours?
Well over.
I'm better at language than math, I gotta say.
I agree. I'm same here.
Yeah.
Same
really?
here.
Yeah. I just can't fucking.
Yeah. Same.
Sorry. Correct our math in the comments.
Please tell us how many hours that would be. But anyway, they're still looking for a director as they're getting the script done, and they go through everybody. So here's who was asked: Peter Yates, Sam Peckinpah.
Oh yeah. Famous.
William Friedkin from The Exorcist. Francis Ford Coppola.
Okay.
Peter Yates apparently wanted to do it. John Guillermin, Richard Lester, who would be the one who actually directed Superman 2 and 3.
Okay.
Peckinpah apparently had a meeting with Ilya Salkind that led to, I guess they didn't get along too well because legend has it, according to Ilya, Peckinpah drew a gun on him.
What? He's a real cowboy?
Yes.
Drew a gun on him? How does that happen?
I don't know, but I guess they did not get along too well. So that was the end of that. Peckinpah was not going to direct Superman.
Hollywood from the 80s and before seems like it was just wild.
It was.
Like, this is the Wild West. Fucking, just to add to, like, wild Hollywood stories, apparently the guy that directed Conan, maybe wrote it too, the movie, Conan.
Oh, Conan the Barbarian.
Was in the same class as George Lucas. I guess
John
USC.
Milas, I think.
Yeah, USC or something.
Yeah.
And this is the guy that directed Conan. Keep that in mind. This is before Conan because they're still in film school, right?
Yeah.
But George Lucas apparently has this story of, like, the film professor, like, shitting on John Milas.
Yeah, I think so.
John Milas is, I guess, one of his student films. And he's a student, and John Milas decks him in the face.
Oh, shit.
In class. And Lucas, it's the way he's telling the story is like, look, I wouldn't believe it either if somebody was telling me, but I was there and the fucking shit happened.
That's how you get to writing Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah, he is apparently kind of a tough motherfucker, so.
Respect.
Yeah.
God, I mean, honestly, I've been, we've been to film school and stuff, and
I've seen some people, like, one guy is like one of the most, he's not like a household name, obviously, but he's like really directing shit right now, and he was like the most like emotional guy in our class and like threw shit down whenever the fucking, like, it just really, like,
I've definitely wanted
to
punch a teacher in the face during film school sometimes, so, like, I kind of get it. But
you were around these kind of types?
Types where it was just, like, they seemed like it was, this is our place where we get to be the bosses of everything because clearly our careers aren't going anywhere, so let's bully around a few students.
So it's a teacher's fault.
I mean, yeah, well, that plus, like, almost feeling like it encouraged that.
And then some pretentious students.
By the way, I'm not saying that this was every class for anybody who's listening who were part of my classes. I'm sure, it was not like that for every class. There was just a couple that came to mind where I was just like, this is ridiculous. Like, came back and you just had to, like, settle down yourself.
The guy I know is I won't say his name, but he was just kind of like overly emotional at times. Mm-hmm. And now he's directing shit on Hulu. No shit.
Nice. But apparently they were strongly considering a new director who had just come out with a shark movie, Steven Spielberg.
Oh shit!
So
that would have been a really good pick, though.
I know, right?
Are you
Spielberg
fucking kidding me?
Apparently really wanted to make it.
I could see him doing it.
Yeah.
He's definitely got like a real nerd side. Obviously, he does. I mean, most of the shit is kind of nerdy.
Yeah. So he had representation already at the time.
Yeah.
And they told Salkind, like, hey, he really wants to do this. He loves Superman. He loves this type of stuff.
That's cool.
And Salkind's like, cool. He turns to his dad, and his dad's like, all right, well, let's just wait to see what this shark movie does.
And it does. Okay, so it should have been a yes then.
Yeah, and then he's also concerned that, like, apparently Spielberg went over budget on Jaws.
Oh, yeah.
So the older Salkind is like, okay, well, let's just wait. Okay, so
it was a shark, man. Never worked.
It shows up and it's huge.
Yeah,
it's a huge movie.
Yeah,
and the Salkinds are like, great, let's go to him. Well, at this point, Spielberg is a hot commodity.
Okay.
So the window of opportunity had already passed. He was already going on to Close Encounters.
It's just looking back. I mean, people love that movie, and it's a good movie.
Close Encounters or Jaws?
Both of them.
No.
But Superman would have been better.
Yeah.
I mean, no offense to Donna. I mean, Donna made a great one, but it's just, you know.
It would have been a different movie, too.
It would have been a different movie. He's so good at, like, the family warmth, heartwarming kind of shit, too. You know what I mean? He's so good at that.
Yeah. Then again, I don't think he was that Spielberg yet.
It was in him.
I know. Well, they eventually decide we're going to settle on a director. We have a director now, and that is Guy Hamilton.
Okay.
Guy Hamilton was a British guy who had directed Goldfinger and Diamonds Are... He directed James Bond movies.
He would have been good at action.
He
could have been good at the other shit, too. But.
Yeah. No, definitely. And they were like, Goldfinger's the best Bond movie. Let's forget about Diamonds Are Forever for a second. But Goldfinger's best Bond movie.
Let's bring him on. The positive.
Yeah. So,
the positive.
Project moves from like all over the place, from Paris to like Rome and Italy and everything, and they start working with him, and they also start auditioning people for the roles.
Okay.
And apparently at this time that Hamilton signs on, one of the people to audition for Superman is Olympic athlete Bruce Jenner.
Oh, wow.
Future Caitlyn Jenner.
That would have been a different history. It's an alternate universe out there in the multiverse.
So let's get a little bit into casting. Alexander Salkind is like old school. He's like, we got to get an A-list actor to play Superman. We have to have a star as Superman. And it's his son, Ilya, who's like, I don't know if I can picture any A-list actor as Superman.
So he was right in this case.
He was right in this case, yeah.
Let's get a ballet dancer from Juilliard. Actually, I don't know if he was a ballet dancer, but...
He's like, what if we had an unknown as Superman? Because I want people to look up at the screen and see him as Superman, not the star.
That was probably forward thinking at that time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And let me put A-list stars in the other roles.
It's great thinking, really.
Let's get an A-list actor for Jor-El. Let's get an A-list actor for Lex Luthor.
It's interesting because, like, you do... Even like the A-listers are fine being in like secondary roles because less like days to work, but also like they're taking part in like a very important part of Americana.
Yeah.
Really, you know what I mean? Like the OG superhero, and he'd been around for what 40, 50 years at that point. So like so I could just see them. You know, people were probably very excited. Yeah, this is going on. Yeah,
exactly. So they at one point they offer Superman, Jor-El, and Lex Luthor to Paul Newman.
Okay.
They're like, do you want any of these roles?
I could see maybe Luthor.
I could maybe see Luthor.
Yeah.
I don't really see... Obviously not Superman. I don't even really see him as Jor-El, really. So I could maybe see Luthor.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Honestly, he's best fit for Perry White. If I were to pick anything for him.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
that's true.
But he turns all of these down. And so they go into thinking about other actors, but legend has it that one idea before Salkind had this idea of giving it to A-list actors was that Puzo had the idea that Jor-El and Superman would be played by the same actor.
Oh, just age him up.
Because of the fact that or not even age him up, because if you look at the comics at the time, the original Jor-El looks just like Superman.
Also, it's in the WB cartoon as well. Like the face looks almost
the face looks exactly the same,
man.
So obviously that got thrown out the window when Salkind was like, "Hey, let's actually get an A-list actor to play Jor-El, but an unknown as Superman." Well, that gets rid of that whole idea. But it is kind of interesting because he does look like Superman in the comics whenever they draw Jor-El.
Yeah.
And part of that is just comic history. You know, it's just it was way easier to just draw Superman and just put him in a different outfit and say that's his dad.
Right.
So that's part of it. But that would have been cool. But technically, on another world, we could have gotten Christopher Reeve as Jor-El and Superman if this whole idea stuck.
That would have been interesting, man. Yeah,
indeed.
For sure.
Technically, this has actually happened twice in Superman adaptations. So technically, it only really happened in Smallville when Tom Welling, in a flashback, played a young Jor-El on top of playing Clark Kent.
That's interesting.
So that was cool. And then in the DC animated universe, Christopher McDonald, best known as Shooter McGavin in Happy Gilmore, is...
I eat pieces of shit like you for breakfast.
You eat pieces of shit for breakfast?
Dude,
no.
Iconic role. The only other role I really know him from, and this is a minor film, but SLC Punk with Oh man, what's the guy's name? The guy was in the Muppet movie, the reboot that was really popular, and also in the Hawaii movie.
Jason Segel.
Yeah, he's in that, and Matthew Lillard is the lead in SLC Punk.
Oh yeah, I think I heard about this. Yeah,
great movie actually. I do recommend it.
Well, Shooter McGavin voiced Jor-El in Superman the Animated Series, and then went on to voice
That's right.
an older Superman in Batman Beyond.
Okay.
So that's the other time.
Cool. That's cool. I didn't know Shooter McGavin did that.
Yeah.
I forget what was his real name again.
Christopher McDonald.
Christopher McDonald. Yeah.
But of course, obviously, Superman and Jor-El were not played by the same person. Jor-El was played by Marlon Brando, who signed on because they were paying him $3.7 million.
And he didn't have to wear pants.
He would also get 11.75% of the box office gross profits, totaling out to $19 million.
And he only famously worked like 4 days or something?
Right. He only worked for... I mean, to be fair, he only has a small role anyway.
Yeah, it's true.
So, Krypton stuff and then just all the hologram animatic shit, and that's it.
His delivery was like pretty good too, you know. It probably wasn't his best in his whole career.
Oh, no. It's not like his best performance.
Yeah, but it was good enough.
For what it is.
Yeah, it was good enough. I mean, just to give it like gravitas, like Hollywood royalty, like kind of top of the top guys, right?
Well, really, the Salkinds were smart because like we already have clout, but we need more clout. So they get Mario Puzo on. Yeah. And then Mario Puzo's name, because of Godfather, gets other people interested. And so now Marlon Brando and Gene Hackman are now interested. And then suddenly, Puzo, Brando, Hackman, and the Salkinds? This isn't just some silly shit. This seems like it's a serious movie.
Some real shit,
yeah. And that's how you get shit done in Hollywood, honestly, is you attach people who are already known for being good, or at least being a name.
It's gonna snowball.
Yeah.
It's a snowball.
There was no way this movie was going to be made with complete unknowns.
Right,
It just was never going to happen.
Right.
So... Marlon Brando's going to get $19 million, and apparently, according to Salkind, Paul Newman found out later and almost had a heart attack that he turned this shit down because he would have gotten the same deal. It's like, maybe I should have taken it. So,
oh man, yeah, what a different movie would have been.
And then, of course, with those names attached, that's how they also got Gene Hackman to be Lex Luthor.
Okay.
So they were like, hey, we got Brando and we got Hackman. We don't want to risk either guy dropping out. So when is your availability, Mr. Brando? When is your availability, Mr. Hackman? Okay, you're available these dates. That's when you're shooting.
Okay.
Don't budge on any of those shooting dates.
Okay.
So Brando and Hackman's shooting dates are set before they've even cast the lead role.
Oh wow.
And again, Guy Hamilton is still the director on this.
Okay.
So
interesting.
You imagine now they're on a tight deadline because
Goldfinger director.
The Goldfinger director.
Okay.
Imagine you're on a tight deadline because you have to get that shit done and shot with Brando and Hackman.
Yeah.
At this point,
they have separate. They don't have scenes together.
They don't have scenes together. No. But I mean, you would still need to cast people, especially for Hackman stuff.
Yeah.
You need Superman at that point.
It was shot in London. Those shots.
Partially shot in London.
Of Krypton.
I think so. I'm not.
I feel like I've heard that
stuff
before.
I
could be wrong about that.
They were across different continents. For this movie, like it was huge.
But some of it was filmed in L.A., right? A lot of it.
New York, I think.
Oh, New York.
Honestly, it was. There's how in Hollywood there's stuff called the other units, like second unit, third unit, and stuff.
Yeah.
There were 11 units on this.
11?
Yeah.
God, Salkinds had the money, dude.
So
they were like Ukrainian or some shit.
I'd have to look it up.
We have to look it up.
We'll look it up in the break. It was supposed to be shot in Italy.
Okay, actually. Like spaghetti western style.
Yeah. And pre-production starts in Rome, and they start doing all this construction and flying tests.
Wow.
Just to make sure.
I wonder if there's shots of that.
Yeah.
There are original set. That's interesting.
There are some. Yeah, there's some concept art that's out there in some of the Superman, the movie documentaries. Some flying shots, or even one where a guy's running down the street and he turns from Clark Kent to Superman. That type of thing.
Some extra guy or something?
Yeah, some extra guy, because again, Superman had not been cast.
That's crazy,
at this point.
Man.
Guy Hamilton did not get to cast Superman at all during the time that he was involved in this.
He was already kicked out by the time they got...
Well, he wasn't necessarily kicked out. I'll go into the interesting reason why he ended up dropping. But they're already doing all this stuff, but they claim to have lost $2 million on the flying test because it just never really works.
Okay.
It just looks bad. It looks lame and everything.
78, and this is when it came out. So again, we got major planning probably in 76.
Yeah.
75, 76. Dude, there's fucking like no CG.
Exactly.
It's all
exactly.
practical flying.
It is all practical effects.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so significant that the tagline is "You will believe a man can fly." Because
Yeah.
they had never pulled off flying in a believable way until this movie.
George Reeves did it, but it's not great. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just not. I mean, it's fine for what it is, but
Yeah.
they were trying very hard.
So here's the complicated reason why it didn't get shot in Italy. So Brando finds out he can't film in Italy because there's a warrant out for his arrest. He had last shot Last Tango in Paris, which was very sexual.
Wait, who's got a warrant again?
Brando.
Oh,
there's a
Mar-
warrant.
okay.
There's a warrant for Marlon Brando's arrest in Italy because he had shot Last Tango in Paris.
Oh shit!
Which is considered to be too sexually obscene
For Paris?
for Italy.
For
Apparently.
Italy? Wow, maybe it's the Catholicism right there.
I
It's
don't
like
know.
I feel like Paris is like they just let whatever go.
Yeah,
just
but
about.
Italy specifically, Brando can't go there, which is ironic because he's the fucking Godfather. So,
Wow.
Brando's like,
that's ridiculous.
Brando's like, I can't go to Italy, and of course the Salkinds at that point are like, we got to move production,
Straight to England.
and they go to England because they find out that it'll probably be cheaper too on that, but. That's where Guy Hamilton has an issue because he has sexual obscenity. No, he doesn't. No, he apparently was in tax exile.
What?
I guess he wasn't paying his taxes and shit from what he made on Goldfinger. So
So he's English, but he couldn't go back to England.
yeah.
Oh my god!
Just
dude.
like both Brando and Hamilton are basically exiled out of their mother countries. I know Brando's American, but still,
Yeah, right.
It's ironic at this point.
That's
So
crazy.
Hamilton can't shoot in England, but
Hollywood
England,
was wild at this time, dude.
Yeah.
So wild.
England is where they're going to shoot because they need Brando. Who's a bigger name, Marlon Brando or Guy Hamilton? So
Okay, yeah.
you got to go with Marlon Brando. So
Wow.
Hamilton drops because he can't shoot in England. They got to find a new director.
That's wild, dude.
Yeah.
So pay your taxes, everybody.
Pretty much. So we got two big stars locked into production that has no director at this point. And
No
it
star.
It's not cast as leading man.
Yeah.
And the script is still 400 pages.
Well,
We'll finish the story after the break, but that's where we're at.
Damn. Good stuff.
It's good to be on patrol again, Nightwing. I can't wait to... Wait, what are you doing?
Nothing. I'm just, fixing my hair and everything. I'm glad you called me over here, Batman. It's been pretty slow in Bloodhaven.
Yeah, but I mean... whenever you're jumping from rooftop to rooftop, you seem to be crouching down in a certain position.
Well, it's to help my jumping power from one place to the next. You wouldn't want me to, fall between those buildings, right?
I just gotta say, from a guy that works out a motherfucking shitload to another, goddamn, you do not skip leg day. That includes, of course, both gluteus maximus and minimus.
Oddly specific for you to go into the anatomy.
One must know
Yes.
the human anatomy perfectly well to become a Caped Crusader, Nightwing.
Ah, yes, that's true. I still remember your lessons, Bruce.
So, anyway, I respect that kind of thing, of course, but it's just a little weird. Maybe I should be jumping rooftop to rooftop in front this time and you behind, so I don't have to see these positions you get into.
I didn't know you cared so much about who was going in front. I thought it was all about who could get to the criminal first.
That is true, but it's just a little bit. Your butt's in my goddamn face all the time, okay? That ass is juicy as hell, and I can't fucking take it anymore.
Thanks?
All right, everybody, if you like that little preview to the sketch right there, we have that plus news, plus we're bringing back some opinion pieces and review type stuff and all kinds of stuff in our $5 tier on Patreon. So just go to patreon.com/superherostuffpod, and if you become part of the $5 tier, you can see these new bonus episodes. Basically, consider it Superhouse DLC.
Oh, hi there, it's me, Max Schreck, local businessman and tycoon, and you're listening to Superhero Stuff You Should Know. And hey, it's almost Christmas, so if you hadn't stopped by one of my department stores yet, what are you waiting on? Go ahead, head inside, pick your old lady up something nice for me.
And we're back to continue talking about the making of Superman the movie from 1978. Now, if you're watching the YouTube version, you can see that I have this copy of the 2001 DVD version of this. This was the very first DVD I ever owned.
Really?
Yeah.
Mine was Austin Powers. Second one was Spawn.
Okay, so still fitting into the superhero theme.
Yeah.
This is basically Donner's favorite cut of the movie, so it's a little longer than the theatrical cut.
Okay.
But it is his preferred cut, and it contains some scenes that you wouldn't have seen if you've only seen the theatrical version, such as seeing Lois Lane's parents, as well as Superman going through this gauntlet as he tries to get to Lex Luthor's lair, where Lex throws out, like, he has him get shot at, he throws flamethrowers,
right,
like, tries to freeze him to death, all those types of things. That was not in the theatrical version at all.
Dude, I might have seen I got to come clean on this one. I might have seen a good bit of it, but I don't know if I had seen all of it. I saw a good bit of it on TV as a kid, and I never saw it again.
It might have been that because the TV version is the longest cut.
Maybe I did see that.
The TV version is the longest cut. Because at the time, they thought we'll get more money if we give you even more of the movie.
More commercial breaks.
Yeah.
Also for TV.
Yeah.
Right?
So the TV cut of Superman, the movie, is over 3 hours.
Okay. And then I just rewatched it again a year ago or so.
Yeah.
Like, actually truly in earnest. Like, I don't know why it took me so long, but yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, now we're here.
Yeah, we're here.
We did, by the way, look up where the Salkinds came from, and funny enough, we did not realize this. We assumed the Salkinds were Eastern European.
It sounds just Salkind. I don't know.
Right,
yeah.
and I thought so too until I read that Ilya Salkind's full name is Ilya Juan Salkind Dominguez.
Also,
Mexicans.
The Mexican. So, but also Ilya sounds like
true.
Russian or something.
Yeah, Ilya Salkind. I'm like, okay, he's probably Russian. Or
right.
And then, but it sounds like to me, and this is my theory, and we'll probably have to dig into it, but it sounds like they deliberately made themselves sound more Eastern European than Mexican, just so that they could get ahead in Hollywood.
Yeah, that's just the
it's unfortunate,
times,
but it's smart on their part.
It worked for them. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's cool.
The Salkinds are still in charge of this, and they got to find a new director because Guy Hamilton is out because he's in tax exile. So they consider a man named Mark Robson, who had just done a movie in 1974 called Earthquake, and he was definitely down to do it. However, Salkind's wife, Sky, said, "You should see this movie. It's a horror movie called The Omen."
Oh,
it's directed by Richard Donner.
Okay.
Donner, that was his main directorial debut. He had done some TV stuff, but this was like his big movie.
This is Ilya Salkind's wife had this suggestion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, Sky Aubrey is his wife.
Yeah.
Sky Aubrey's mom is Phyllis Thaxter, who played Martha Kent in the movie.
Okay.
So he cast his mother-in-law to play Martha in this. But she's fantastic in the role anyway.
Yeah,
so I don't mind that instance of
Nepotism,
yeah. Funny enough, Salkind was really impressed by The Omen, but he then went to see the other films that Donner had made and said they were quote-unquote absolutely dreadful. Nonetheless, he felt that they still had heart.
Okay.
And he's like, okay, it's down to Donner and Robson. Which one will it be? He basically was like, Warner's was ambivalent either way, and Marlon Brando didn't give a shit. So
okay. Mama's like, just pay me.
Yeah.
And I'll wear a shirt.
I don't care where the director comes from. So
that's cool. He didn't care, being as like royalty as he was.
So Alexander Salkind, the father, decides he's going to call Richard Donner, and Richard Donner tells the story like this, and I'll have you say some of this.
Okay.
But Donner is sitting on the toilet when he gets this phone call.
Okay. I got this call from Alexander Salkind. He said, "Do you know who I am?" And I said, "No. Why are you calling me?" He said, "I'll get to that. I'm a producer." "Did you ever see The Three Musketeers?" I said I did see it. And he said, "I produced that." And I said, "The way I hear it, they tried to release a second picture without paying the actors." He said, "Well, that's a long story. I'm making Superman. I don't have a director, and I'll pay you $1 million. $1 million? That was like saying, I'll give you all the tea in China." I said, "Oh, how many pictures is it?" He said, 2. I have Marlon Brando for X number of weeks, and I have Gene Hackman, and we start shooting on such and such date. I said, "Whoa, that's close." He said, "But we're all prepared. We're ready to go." I said, "What's your script like?" He said, "Perfect. There was a delivery guy at my door within an hour. With this script that was so thick and big, you'd get a hernia from lifting it. And there were other things with the package. And one of them was the Superman costume. So I sat down and read the script, and it took forever. It was the longest thing I'd ever read. It was indulgent and heavy and had no point of view and treated the comic books with disrespect."
So
I kind of like that, though. Disrespect.
Disrespect. But
I don't like that.
Donner's the one who recognizes we got to take this shit seriously. Which means
this is key. So they weren't really serious until Donner.
Yeah, which is why it's important that he was the one who became the director of it. Now,
That's interesting.
I feel like Spielberg would have been the same way, though.
That's true. Spielberg, yeah. I guess Spielberg and Donner, in an alternate universe, I feel like the movies wouldn't have been too different.
I feel that way too, yeah.
It feels like a Spielberg movie a lot of the time, yeah.
That's true, too.
Yeah.
But anyway, he decides we got to do another rewrite on this shit. So that's when he brings in Tom Mankiewicz, who, again, you guys might remember if you listened to our episode, Ben Reviews the Batman script from 1982, he was the one who wrote the first Batman features film script.
How does he know Mankiewicz at this time? How does Donner know Mankiewicz?
I'm not really sure, because Mankiewicz is Hollywood royalty.
Okay.
At this point, his uncle had written Citizen Kane.
Okay.
Herman J. Mankiewicz, and Herman J. Mankiewicz is being played by Gary Oldman in the new David Fincher Netflix movie Mank.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And Mankiewicz had written James Bond movies himself. He actually wrote Diamonds Are Forever for Guy Hamilton.
Oh yeah.
As well as
So it's like maybe stuff. Guy Hamilton. Even though they lost Guy Hamilton, I don't know.
Well, it's Donner who brings Mankiewicz in.
It's a small world, though, I guess.
He
even smaller then.
Yeah, exactly. And Mankiewicz was like, I don't really want to do this comic book shit, which is ironic, because I consider him basically, with his rewrites on Superman the movie, as well as what he wrote for the Batman that foreshadowed everything that came over, he's pretty much the godfather of Batman, or godfather of superhero origin movies.
There's something about a healthy distance, too, I guess. I mean, you can go either way, I guess. Ultimate fan with a lot of passion, or somebody with kind of an objective view that's not... I don't like Nolan was that way, and he made some good ones.
Yeah. So Mankiewicz is like, I don't want to do it. And Donner is like, you're going to do it. Just come over and let me talk to you.
Okay.
So here's the story of what happened when Mankiewicz came over.
I got a little stoned, smoked some weed, put on the Superman costume. I was in pretty good shape then. It was like elastic. And Tom pulled up, and I ran across the lawn, and Tom turned and looked at me and ran back to his car. Tom says, "You're crazy. Get the fuck away from me." I said, "Tom, listen, you've got to read this." I gave him all my feelings about what we should do. I said, "The most important thing when you look at it is this: make a love story and prove a man can fly." So he read it, and he called me that night and said, "You know, there's a lot we can do with this."
So that's how we get Mankiewicz on board.
That's interesting.
Donner getting stoned and running around in a Superman costume.
You have to become one with your art. It's important. I mean, there's Snyder wasn't wearing a costume, but didn't Snyder wear a bat gauntlet and drew Batman and shit?
Yeah, that's true.
He was wearing gauntlets.
True
too. Dude.
Yeah, you have to.
What you wear is important, and I mean. I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot to that, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Mental space. It's
a fantastic story, because I just thought, they do the usual thing. You're hired on as a director. And then I read the actual story. I'm like, we have to cover this. This is amazing.
Yeah. That's cool. I like that. Yeah. Donner's, he's obviously into it.
Yeah.
I smoked some weed.
Yeah. So they go to Paris, and they meet with Alexander Salkind. And Salkind, at this point, is apparently in bed in a hotel. That he lived at. He lived in this hotel.
Okay.
And
he was money to burn. It sounds like
he was sick.
Okay.
Thankfully, this was not Corona times, where obviously they would not have done this at all. But he shows up there, and here's how this conversation goes for Mr. Salkind and Mr. Donner.
The first thing I said was, "Mr. Salkind, this needs a major rewrite." He said, No. This is a perfect script." I said, "It's not a perfect script." So I started telling him all my feelings, and he said, "You're wrong." I said, "Thank you for the trip to Paris, but I can't do this." And we started leaving. He said, "Okay, tell me what you would rewrite."
If Alexander Salkind had not changed his mind, Richard Donner would have flown back to L.A.
This is hilarious. I mean, Donner's kind of a character, it seems like.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing what he's doing here.
This is pretty funny.
This is why Donner is a huge part of this huge piece in this puzzle.
Yeah.
Before we even get to Christopher Reeve or Margot Kidder or John Williams. Like, he's a huge part of this.
I mean, he's like the first superhero movie director.
Exactly, yeah.
In earnest.
So
this is very important shit going on.
Yeah, we owe a lot to him and Mankiewicz on this because they saved this movie.
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
They saved this.
It's good to have somebody like Mankiewicz, I think, that can, like I said before, objective and kind of, I'm kind of glad that he got Mankiewicz on the job.
No, totally.
Yeah.
So Mankiewicz gets to work on the script, and Donner goes overseas to see what they have in England.
Okay.
At this point, Salkinds have spent $6 million
before
Donner has even worked on it.
It's fucking crazy. $6 million on pre-pro.
All on pre-production, just trying to figure this out. $2 million of which was on the flying test. So
in Italy.
In Italy, which they didn't even shoot at. So
man.
Mankiewicz does rewrites, but for whatever reason, the Writers Guild of America refuses to give him credit. They only credit Puzo-Benton-Newman, and everybody, but Mankiewicz. And Donner was like, that's fine. I'll just give you a different type of credit. So in the credits, it says creative consultant Tom Mankiewicz.
Okay.
He made that shit up so he could give Tom a credit. That's how Donner looks out
being
for.
an OG over
that's
here.
How Donner looks out for his people.
That's cool.
So that's amazing. So Donner decides he goes to England, and here's what he thinks of the flying tests.
They had filmed some flying tests, and I looked at them and said, this is terrible. The flying was like bad television, like lying on a board on a process screen. The stuff they had was corny. I said, you guys don't understand. You've made a farce out of this. So I called the Salkinds, Alexander and his son Ilya, and said, listen, maybe this isn't going to work. We have to start from scratch. They said, no, everything you have is perfect. So they have like one line they say to people.
Everything you have is perfect.
They thought we have a perfect movie.
This is the beginning of the divide between Donner and Salkinds, because really the Salkinds just wanted to do whatever it took to make it cheap.
Okay, they want to make a Superman movie,
but
and Donner's like, we're making a classic here,
we have to make, we have to do it my way, that type of thing. Which is why he was kicked off of Superman 2. Which we'll cover in Superman 2, but that's why there's a Donner cut and there's a theatrical version of Superman 2 that was shot by a completely different director.
Right.
This is the original Snyder-Whedon thing.
Yeah,
already.
Right.
And for years, people wanted to see the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2.
And it finally came out.
But that was the first Snyder cut type situation.
It's the only one I've ever seen. Sorry, fans.
Well, you'll see
Donner
it before
cut's
we cover
the only
Superman
one
2.
I've seen.
You'll see it before Superman 2, because our episode on that is going to be Donner cut versus theatrical version.
Right.
Which one do you prefer with each difference?
The green screen didn't bother me.
Yeah.
It's like a second.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like a second.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
So Donner felt it was best to start from scratch, and he's like, they had prepared this picture for a year, and not one bit of it is going to help me at all.
Okay.
So we have another great story with Richard Donner here, which is how he deals with Marlon Brando. Because now he's like, he's inherited.
I can't do a Brando. You directed The Omen. What the fuck is that?
Yeah. How's The Omen? So Brando, obviously, and Brando and Hackman have already been cast, so Donner inherits them. They were not his choices for this. And Donner is like, well, I got to meet Brando. So Brando's agent...
Brando put some pants on.
Brando's agent calls Donner, and he tells Donner, so Marlon wants to play Jor-El like a green suitcase.
What does that mean?
Donner's like, yeah, exactly. And
green suitcase?
The agent says, quote, it means he hates to work and he loves money, so if he can talk you into the fact that the people on Krypton look like green suitcases and you only photograph green suitcases, he'll get paid just to do the voiceover, $3.7 million, plus the box office stuff, just to do a fucking voiceover. That's the way his mind works, because he doesn't like to work.
He was over at this point.
He was over at this point.
He was really over
post Godfather.
Yeah.
And Donner's like, fuck. And so he calls up Francis Ford Coppola. I don't know how he knows Francis Ford Coppola.
I think at this point with the Salkinds connection, he was just getting numbers.
Right.
Getting phone numbers.
So
you know what I mean?
Coppola tells Donner, just keep having him talk.
Okay.
He'll talk himself out of it. So Donner's like, okay, let's see what happens. So Donner...
I love these like Hollywood mind games they have to play with each other. I feel like we're not neither of us at that level, so we don't know personally, but it seems like it was a lot more back then.
Totally.
Yeah.
So Donner and Mankiewicz and Ilya Salkind all go to visit Brando's compound, where he apparently is living with Jack Nicholson.
Oh, wow.
Future Joker, Jack Nicholson.
That's interesting.
And, they talk for hours. I imagine that there was a lot of sex going on at that compound.
The compound.
Yes.
Probably was, dude.
Yeah.
Probably was.
So they talk for hours, and Brando talks about his kids and how he's mainly doing this for his kids, really.
Yeah, he doesn't give a fuck.
Outside of the money.
Yeah.
And he talks about how his kids never miss a thing about like their stories and stories and mythology. And this is important because Donner keeps this in mind for later on.
Okay.
So Brando's then ready to talk about the role, and Donner is prepared for him to talk about Green Suitcase, right?
Green suitcase.
Green Suitcase is like, all right,
It's a
here we go.
suitcase full of green.
No, the suitcase that is colored green.
Okay.
And Brando's like, why don't I play him like a bagel? And Donner's like, I was ready.
Like, you're one of the greatest actors in history. What's happened to you?
So Donner was not prepared for this because he was prepared for a green suitcase. He was not prepared for a bagel.
Yeah.
And Brando's like, who's to say what
who the fuck would be prepared?
Who's to say what the people of Krypton look like? I can make them look like a human. I need to ship them off to Earth and make them look like a human.
I like your Brando. I can't do it.
And of course, Salkind at this point, he just wants Brando on, but in the back of his mind, he's like, "This is gonna ruin the movie.
Yeah.
I will not be working again in this industry, but I don't know what else to say." So he's like, "That's
Holy
gonna be
shit.
great, Marlon. What do you think, Dick?"
Yeah.
And when he turns to Donner,
Yeah.
and Donner's like,
Dick Donner. That's right.
"Yeah," and Donner has to think on his feet because again, he was not prepared for this.
Right.
And he's like, "You're forgetting one thing, Marlon. This character's been around since 1938. Every kid knows what Jor-El looks like because you talked about how kids don't miss a thing in mythology. Every kid knows what Jor-El looks like." And Brando,
So we talked him out of
and
it.
Brando's like, "What does he look like?" And Donner says, "He looks like Marlon Brando." And Brando's like, "Show me what you got. What do I look like?"
Wow.
And that's how they got him on.
The mind games, dude. The mind games. So Donner was the right pick, man.
Donner was the right pick.
That's cool.
He's the OG on this.
That's cool.
So obviously, as I brought up, Bruce Jenner auditioned for the title role of Superman, but they tried to go for everybody on this.
That's like pretty much open casting
It
call
was
after a
open.
certain point.
Yeah. So the Salkinds got approval from DC for the following actors. DC is like, "You're fine. Like, we would like it if we were any of these guys. So here's the list. Let me know if you think any of them would be a good Superman." First one is Muhammad Ali.
Okay. Wow, really?
Yeah, so that's awfully progressive, actually.
That's cool.
Second one is Al Pacino.
Okay, interesting.
And along those lines is James Caan.
Okay.
I guess they thought, you got Brando.
Yeah.
So
Let's just
why don't
bring
you
the Godfather
have Pacino
bunch.
Caan? Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve McQueen.
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood.
He's already old at this point, I feel like.
And Dustin Hoffman, who also turned down Lex Luthor.
Oh,
according to
interesting.
Soundtrack. Yeah.
Interesting.
They offered to Robert Redford, but apparently he wanted too much money.
Okay.
Eastwood was too busy. Salkind thought McQueen was too fat at the time.
Wow.
Charles Bronson was considered, but Salkind said he was quote-unquote too earthy. Bruce Jenner was considered to be quote-unquote too amateurish because he wasn't actually an actor. And then there were a few other actors who met with Donner, one of whom was Rocky himself, Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, shit, really?
So here's what Donner had to say about that.
I met with Sylvester Stallone because of them.
The Salkinds.
I tried to be nice and say, this is wrong. I like Stallone. He turned out to be a nice guy. He wanted to do it. I remember meeting him in his manager's office, and I was as cordial as I could be. He was a big star, and I'm some punk kid.
Which is an interesting dynamic because of the fact that he was already huge because of Rocky.
Right.
And it's weird to think of Donner as like a punk kid compared to Stallone, but that's because we're looking back at it now.
Right.
As opposed to then. Because
Right.
remember, like he had done The Omen, that was his main thing.
I don't even want to look up how old he was because it'll be too depressing. He's probably 32 or something doing this shit.
So Stallone isn't right for it, even though he wanted to do it.
Stallone, a bit short, right? Also?
Yeah, I would
He
say
could
so,
obviously
actually.
pack on the muscle, but
He's way shorter than Reeve.
Reeve was 6'3".
He was 6'4". He was legit
6'4".
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
So James Caan was offered but turned it down, and here's what Caan had to say about what type of scene he had to play.
Clark is just devastated because Lois Lane is so in love with Superman. Physically, the office is set up in the Daily Planet. In order to get to Clark Kent's office, you must pass through Lois Lane's office. So one day, Clark is so pissed off that she is in love with Superman, he says, screw it. He rips his clothes off, and he's got a Superman costume on under there. And he says, Lois, come in here. She comes in and looks at him, wet as fuck. That's sweet, Clark, but you're no Superman. And she walks out. Fucking dumb broad.
Pretty sure this is from the Benton-Newman script or something, because it's too cheesy. Like, there's no way. This must have been one of those scenes that was like pre-Donner or something.
Bob Kane is like, it's the best script I've ever read.
Check out our stuff about the Return of Batman script deep dive, where we reviewed Bob Kane's attempt to make a Batman movie.
I wish I wrote it myself.
Apparently, Marlon Brando really wanted James Caan to be part of this, which is, as you can imagine, because the whole Godfather.
I think he's perfect.
Yeah. But Caan was like, I got to sign on for 2 films and wear that outfit? No, thank you. So
it must have
the end of
been
that.
like there was no precedent, like they probably thought it was so silly.
Yeah, exactly.
But, yeah. But it just seems like they probably looked back on like, oh, I missed out on this shit.
Pretty much. I feel like we're like 1/3 of the way through this list of actors they went through.
Did Khan look? I just forget what it looked like at that time. He looked like him, pretty much. No.
Maybe if you did his hair differently.
Okay.
Like, he's definitely a better fit for it facial wise than like Pacino and Hoffman.
Right.
So I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, he didn't work out. So the next they tried to go to Warren Beatty, future Dick Tracy.
Okay.
And here's how he approached this.
I believe they came to me first with Superman, and I didn't think that they were actually going to make a movie. And I said, this is kind of ridiculous. And so I said to my assistant, run out and get me some long underwear. So she brings back some long underwear, and I take off my pants. Not in front of her, by the way. And put on the long underwear and open the full-length mirror. And I went to the telephone and I said, look, just forget about Superman. It ain't gonna happen. And then the movie was fucking terrific.
Let's see. Yes, Sal Kynes keep going around. So
Okay.
they tried to go to Burt Reynolds, who apparently turns it down. John Voight.
Burt Reynolds. Okay, yeah, I remember hearing about that actually.
Neil Diamond wanted to play it at one point. The musician.
Neil Diamond.
Yes.
Interesting.
And Sal Kine apparently said that when he met Arnold Schwarzenegger at the premiere of Superman the movie, apparently Arnold had been under consideration, and Arnold said that he should have been cast because he already had the muscles. And Sal Kine was like, not with that accent.
Yeah, I mean, like Schwarzenegger turned out all right, I think, but it's just how bad do I sound if it's just like Superman with an accent, like the most iconic. Well, it's immigrant. It's an immigrant thing.
He's an immigrant, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. Anyway,
apparently John Wayne's son Patrick Wayne is reported to have been very close in the running.
That's interesting.
So
whatever happened with them? Like the Waynes.
The Waynes, yes.
Yeah.
Wow. You do see a little bit of him in the suit in an audition where he's grabbing an actor who's supposed to be Lex Luthor, like by the lapels and holding him up and pulling him up.
What's his name? Patrick Wayne?
Patrick Wayne, yeah.
Patrick Wayne is okay.
Which, funny enough, in comic book canon is the name of Bruce Wayne's grandfather.
Wow. Okay.
So, interesting.
That's probably just a coincidence, though.
Yeah, just a coincidence.
Yeah.
Nick Nolte.
Okay.
Was considered as well. You can see his name actually written in one of the behind-the-scenes documentaries when Donner was writing notes to himself when he was on the toilet talking to Sal Kine. Yeah. But a report says that he saw, quote-unquote, nothing super about the role. So casting became so desperate that Sal Kine's wife, who we mentioned earlier, was at the dentist office, and she looked up at the dentist, and she was like, you know what? You kind of look like Superman. You want to audition? So
yeah,
obviously that was not Christopher Reeve.
Yeah. Oh man.
But Mankiewicz sums it up the best. He says we had guys who looked like Superman who couldn't act, and we had guys who could act but didn't look like Superman.
I could see that being an issue.
It's a huge thing, and I think it's the problem with every single time you have to cast this role. Really.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So that's what they had to do. It was casting director Lynn Stallmaster who first comes across Christopher Reeve's headshot, and he's like, this guy looks just like Superman face-wise. There's just one problem. He's way too fucking thin. He's like a string bean, and he's got like reddish blondish hair.
Okay.
So
he shows dye the hair, but they didn't think he could work out.
Yeah, well, they were skeptical about this because remember, physical transformations for a role were not a thing at this point. This is 1970s.
Yeah, that's true.
So Stallmaster says, hey, here's Christopher Reeve. What do you think? And they're just like, he doesn't seem right. And Stallmaster's like, I don't know. I kind of believe in this kid. So he basically, instead of throwing out the headshot, he puts it at the bottom of the pile.
Ah, wow.
So, yeah.
He had the feeling.
Had the feeling. As
That's
a quick
cool.
side tangent, it's Christopher Reeve, not Christopher Reeves. I can't tell you how many times
Right.
I've heard people say Christopher Reeves.
I think Reeves is more common
It is more common, and plus
among
they
people
get
that
a
have
mix.
that name.
Plus, there's Keanu Reeves, so I can
Yeah.
kind of get that, and like George Reeves.
It's such a coincidence there, too.
There's a George Reeves and Christopher Reeve. There was when Hollywoodland came out. This one guy drove me nuts because he asked me online. He's just like, "Wait, is Hollywoodland about Christopher Reeve?
Yeah.
How come there's more than one? Like, why was his name George?" I'm like, "No, it's a different actor.
Just Google it,
George
man.
Reeves, Christopher Reeve. Yeah." So that was a whole other thing. There was a poll on Superman homepage that asked which one of these actors did not play Superman: George Reeves, Kirk Allen, Christopher Reeves, or like Dean Cain or Henry Cavill was the
Oh,
last
it's a trick question.
It's a trick
Sort of-
question.
Basically
yeah.
a trick
and
question.
everyone
yeah.
voted for Kirk Allen,
Oh, wow.
who was the first fucking Superman. And they're like, no, the real answer is Christopher Reeves.
People forgot
'cause
about that shit,
There
man.
is no guy named Christopher Reeves. So that was disappointed.
Yeah.
Christopher Reeve did go to Juilliard.
Yeah.
Do you know who his, I guess, his fellow students were at Juilliard?
Robin Williams.
Robin Williams
He
was one of them.
He was his roommate, right?
I actually don't think he was his roommate.
Oh, but they were in classes together.
Well, okay, I know somebody who almost was Christopher Reeve's roommate, and this is going to be a shocker.
Okay.
Kevin Conroy.
Oh, shit, really?
Kevin Conroy was almost roommates with Christopher Reeve. He said on Twitter, he said, wait, hold on, let me do it as Conroy. Great guy. We discussed roommating, but I couldn't swing his fancy Soho rent. So I ended up with Robin Williams in an apartment where we divided up space with half walls to save money. Not a lot of privacy, though. So,
We were doing a lot of cocaine.
so Conroy doesn't get to room with Christopher Reeve, so he settles for rooming with Robin Williams. Can you imagine?
What's going on at Juilliard at this time, man?
Also, I really wanted to see what it was like in that apartment with Conroy and Robin Williams, because that seems like a hell of a combination.
I just think Robin Williams was like messy. I get the vibe he was messy.
Oh yeah, but
especially at that
he
time.
had to have also have been like still. The seeds at least were planted for him to be who he became, comedian wise.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
for
so
sure.
just imagining those two together is just incredible. But yeah,
Chris Reeve was probably clean, I think.
I feel that way too.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Because of the Superman thing.
Let's analyze it for about an hour.
Yes.
Okay.
But finally, they're so desperate, they go back to Stallmaster and they're like, "Hey, let's give this Christopher Reeve guy a chance. Let's dye his hair black and everything. See what he looks like in
That
a suit."
wasn't his natural hair color.
Not his natural haircut.
Fucking
When you see him
man.
later on in life too, when he was in the wheelchair, it's
Yeah.
not. He doesn't have black hair.
God, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Shit,
because that's not his
man.
natural hair color.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
He wasn't. I mean, by today's standards, he wasn't like super buff either. But I guess at that time,
He was even thinner. Yeah.
he was thinner.
He
yeah.
was. He was. They call him a string bean.
So he
That's how
put
thick he
put
was.
on some
And they're
pounds,
like-
I guess. But being 6'4", it's probably hard to gain.
It
you know,
helped
for
that he
some
was
people.
6'4".
Yeah.
So he goes in for auditions, and all the auditions were done with Holly Palance, who is the daughter of Jack Palance, who played Boss Grissom in Batman '89. The whole "you are my number
yeah.
one
Yeah.
guy."
Yeah.
So here you see him, and there's footage of his audition with Holly
Okay.
Palance, and he's super thin, and he's sweating so much from this audition because this is a big audition for him, and
He's
plus there's the
nervous.
lights. You see the sweat, the armpit stains.
In the Superman costume.
On the Superman costume
Yeah,
that they
I think
have.
I've actually seen this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, this is a scenario where again, not a lot of people are believing in him. They're just desperate at this point.
Yeah.
Camera starts rolling. You got Tom Mankiewicz in the room with
Yeah.
the cinematographer who's shooting this,
Yeah.
and they start the scene. Holly Palance comes on to find Christopher Reeve standing there, and he's like, "Good evening, Miss Lane." And Jeffrey Ensworth apparently turns to Tom Mankiewicz, and he's like, "This might be the guy."
That's cool.
So
That's cool.
they do another scene that we'll cover in the Superman 2 deep dive that is in the Donner cut.
Okay.
With Lois, it's the one where she has a blank. She shoots the blank.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
that's not in the theatrical.
it's not on the theatrical. No.
Holy shit, man!
No,
that seems important.
That scene in the Donner cut is Margot Kidder's audition scene.
Oh shit.
That's a screen test.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's not an actual. That was not
Okay.
shot for any movie.
That
They-
looked better than the green screen shot.
yeah, I
it
would
looked.
hope so.
It looked okay.
But that scene was used to say, hey, like, you can be Superman in this room with Lois Lane, where it was obviously the interview, the classic interview scene between
Okay.
Superman and Lois.
Okay.
But for Clark Kent, the audition scene was that scene from the Donner cut, where
Okay.
she shoots him with a blank.
Okay.
So we'll cover that when we do the Superman 2 one. But they're like, this is fantastic. However, there's the problem with the fact of he's fucking thin. So this is where Donner comes in and has this conversation with Reeve.
You're gonna have to get back on the pounds.
We'll find out how.
I said, probably quite honestly, Buster. He said, listen, I was a jock in school, and when I went to acting, I lost 50 pounds. I said, I don't believe you. You're an actor. He says, no, I did. I swear to you.
Okay, so they decide, hey, we're going to pair you up with somebody to train you and bulk you up.
Buster.
Yeah, you'll bulk up, Buster. So I don't know. I didn't know if he was a personal trainer at the time or why they turned to him, but they call out, and this is a familiar name to Star Wars fans, David Prowse.
Oh, that name's familiar to me too.
He was the guy who was in the suit of Darth Vader.
Oh, yeah,
he acted as Darth Vader.
Yeah.
And they asked Darth Vader, can you help Christopher Reeve bulk up to be Superman?
Shit, okay.
And so Darth Vader helped Christopher Reeve bulk
That's
up.
awesome.
So
cut to Zack Snyder sending a bunch of weird Star Wars shit. He was like taking pictures of lightsabers and shit on the set.
Oh, yeah,
of,
I remember that, yeah.
What was that? Not Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Anyway, that's just a random.
But that was the first actor transformation for a superhero movie. Or really any movie, I would think so. Because that was even before Raging Bull with
they
De Niro.
just didn't think about it, huh? It's
Yeah.
just so weird to me.
Yeah, but that was the first time where the idea of like, hey, you can actually change your body for this role.
I mean, women had to starve themselves every day of their fucking
Well,
lives.
yeah, unfortunately. But we're talking about
sad. Talking about guys.
we're talking
here.
well, we're also specifically talking about for roles, for a specific
Yeah,
role,
yeah,
for a
yeah.
specific character.
Yeah,
Again,
yeah,
this
yeah.
is pre-Raging Bull, where De Niro packed on the pounds for that. This is pre-Full Metal Jacket when D'Onofrio did that. Like, this is the first time, and this is the first superhero actor transformation of that too. Pre-Zachary Levi, Ben Affleck, all of those guys.
Yeah.
So he goes from 170 pounds to 212 pounds.
Damn. Okay.
So he definitely packed it on, and I think he's bulkier in the sequels too.
Is he? Yeah.
He's like
Well,
Hugh
he had more-
Jackman, where
he
he
had
just
more
he
time.
gets even more. Yeah, exactly.
Hugh Jackman, dude. I wonder because he is like 50. Let's
How
just
he-
say he's got some Hollywood secrets.
Yes, exactly.
I like Jackman a lot, but just the age
Yeah.
and how jacked he is.
Yeah.
Let's just say I wonder.
Yes,
I'll
indeed.
leave it at that.
Indeed. So we now have Donner. We have
Yeah.
Christopher Reeve. Next is Lois Lane. And again,
Right.
the audition, everybody.
By the way, I want to give a little tidbit. I've been listening to this audiobook on Superman.
Yeah.
And apparently Siegel or Schuster, I forget who it was.
Mm-hmm.
I keep mixing them up. Anyway, he drew Lois as like curvier than most women at that time.
Really?
When we look at it,
Uh-huh.
it's just looks like a woman looks like Lois
Right.
Lane.
Yeah.
But he liked, I guess by those standards, like curvier women.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? This is before, if you talk to our parents' generation, like big butts weren't a thing.
Yeah. Body images or the perception of that has all changed.
Maybe
from
boobs,
generation
I think.
to generation. Yeah.
Yeah, but like this is like the 30s,
Uh-huh.
and he drew her like curvier than what was normal in the late 30s. So I don't know. If that probably didn't like apply to Margot Kidder, but
Not at
I
all.
find that interesting. yeah, it's true.
But yeah, no, they wanted. They were auditioning everybody for this.
Okay.
Including Leslie Ann Warren, who had played Lois Lane in the Superman musical TV movie. So that was
Okay.
interesting.
Okay.
They also auditioned Ann Archer, Deborah Raffin, Susan Blakely. Lynn Stallmaster felt that Archer and Warren were too "quote unquote" glamorous for the role because she still has to be believable as somebody who isn't a supermodel.
There's a down to earth kind of nature
exactly.
to Lois Lane. Yeah.
And then another actress who was very close to it is Stalker Channing.
Okay.
So, but Stallmaster figured maybe Donner wanted someone who was less confident.
Lois Lane is generally written as a Metropolis native. She's born and raised.
I think so. Yeah.
She's like a diehard New Yorker kind of type.
Very much a city girl.
Yeah.
On this. But I think what they wanted was just like how Superman has the contrast between Clark Kent and Superman. They wanted to show, hey, here's this really confident woman who just sees Clark as just another coworker and everything,
Right.
and doesn't let anything stand in her way. And then here is this other side to her that's more vulnerable, that's in love. Frankly, that's all of us in some ways.
Can you
that we
read
have
my
that.
mind?
Yes.
When that goes into her narration, it's kind of funny, but it works.
We'll
does
cover
work.
how that came about
Okay.
when we get to
Okay.
that part of the movie.
Can you read my mind?
But Stolemaster said that Kidder had, quote, an offbeat quality and distinctive energy and interpretation of Lois and that vulnerability. So that was, they thought she was great. And when she met Donner, she literally trips when she comes into the room.
Oh, shit.
Supposedly, yeah. But Donner had so much fun talking to her, working with her, that he didn't even have her finish the audition. He was apparently quote unquote
you're
in
hired.
hysterics
Yeah.
about it.
You're hired.
But Kidder came in from her perspective. She's like, I'm not really sure what the hell this is. Superman's there and he looks thin as fuck because this is before Christopher Reeve had bulked up.
You got like 400 pages.
Yeah.
You already
I
spent
don't know
$6
about
million.
this.
We haven't even shot a day.
And she was like, how do I pull this
It
off?
was probably a mess. It probably seemed like such a mess.
It was a mess, yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, how do I pull this off? And she thought to herself, look like you're in love with this stranger. And that's what pulled her through and got her that part.
The
for
love
Lois
story.
Lane. Yeah, and became one of the
Make
most
the love
famous
story
Lois
right.
Lanes.
Yeah. That's
So,
cool. Yeah.
Margot Kidder gets on board.
She is great. I mean, God, can you imagine anybody else at that time? She's so good.
Yeah, no, exactly. Stolemaster
know?
says in the thing, like, here are all the auditions for the other actresses, and you see them,
Yeah.
and they all kind of feel off, partially because of the fact that we're so used to Margot Kidder's version.
Right. That's
So-
true.
There you go. So I wanted to skip ahead to go into the music, because the music was one of the last things that come together, and you don't really need to have anybody, already set to do the Superman theme before the movie's made.
Yeah, it's generally after, huh?
Right, but I want to say we almost did not get the Superman theme because
Okay.
they did not originally have John Williams in mind.
Who'd they have?
Jerry Goldsmith, who had scored The Omen for Richard Donner, and,
Right,
and he ended
yeah.
up doing the score for Supergirl, the Supergirl movie. with Helen
Supergirl
Slater.
movie?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
But there was this back and forth where they wanted Jerry Goldsmith, and Jerry Goldsmith eventually couldn't do it. So they're like, all right, John Williams, because John Williams was Donner's other choice.
Yeah, let's get that guy.
And John Williams
I guess
is like,
he'll be all right.
great, I can do it. But then like the production kept going forward and forward, and John Williams is like, I can't do it.
Oh, wow.
And so they're just like, I guess we got to go back to Jerry Goldsmith, who's like, I'm available. So again, that went back to Goldsmith until
Wow.
there were more delays, and Goldsmith's like, I can't do it anymore. And they're
Wow,
like,
just scheduling issues.
yeah, and there's like, please, John Williams. And John Williams is like, you know what? I got time. So, and then that's how
I wonder what cleared up his schedule.
I don't know.
Somebody canceled on him, and he was like, I'm
Well-
going back to the Superman.
I imagine it was Star Wars. Star Wars was 77.
And then 79.
78 was
I know, but Empire was 79, I believe.
81.
Was Empire 81?
I think it was 81. Yeah.
Really?
I don't think we got Empire.
Maybe it was.
In the 70s, yeah.
Maybe it was.
But like, what I'm saying is that likely Williams was busy with Star Wars earlier. The reason why they
Yeah.
wanted Williams was most likely because of Jaws, not because of Star Wars. Because Star Wars was 77.
right.
They wouldn't
right,
have had
right.
time
Right.
to have like heard the score and be like, or maybe they would have because like the score came later. But still,
Right.
whatever the case is, we almost didn't get the iconic theme. And Donner considers that it's the only theme he's ever heard that orchestrates the title of the movie, which is
Interesting.
dun, 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 Superman.
right.
Once he
Oh,
heard that, he's like, this is perfect.
Wow.
So it's a great little anecdote.
It does fit.
And Williams asked Tom Mankiewicz,
It's still kind of the best. No offense to what's his name?
Hans Zimmer.
Yeah, Hans Zimmer. I mean, that's a really good one though.
Yeah.
It does fit. It does
No, it
fit
is.
that movie,
It is,
obviously.
yeah. But Williams asked, I guess for whatever reason, Tom Mankiewicz is around not only for screen tests, but also for listening to these theme songs. So they were treating Mankiewicz great at this time. But again, probably because he's partially part of the Hollywood royalty.
Oh, right.
But Williams asked Mankiewicz, what did you think? And Mankiewicz says, all I know is that the halftime show at the next Super Bowl, they're going to probably play your theme for Superman.
And they did, huh?
And they did. Yeah.
Wow.
So
I mean, that was iconic as fuck,
yeah,
dude. People, I
exactly.
mean, released on Christmas Day too. Shit.
it was originally not going to be Christmas Day.
Oh,
It
really?
was supposed to be in June of '78, but because of delays, they kept delaying. They had to move it to Christmas.
Does make sense
Yeah.
because they want the summer blockbuster shit. I mean,
Yeah.
well, I know summer blockbusters had just started, but 75 Jaws, summer blockbusters become a thing. 3 years pass of that happening, so they probably going for that. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
they were editing right up to the release date. There was no preview for the critics because there was no cut
Oh,
ready.
wow.
Yeah. That's how much they were under the wire.
That's crazy.
Like apparently Donner had fired the same editor like 3 or 4 times on this production because of how much they fought over the cuts. That's why there's like multiple cuts of this movie.
Apparently,
Is because of that.
a lot of directors will fight their editor because editors have a lot of power. It changes the editors are almost like a director part 2.
Yeah.
Like it's are they above the line? I think they're above the line.
Editors, yeah, I would think so.
And a lot of terminology thrown out today, but yeah, yeah, they have a lot of power, so directors sometimes will fight with them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as we've seen. So
Yeah.
apparently it was 11 units, as I said, filming simultaneously across 3 continents. This is one of the biggest
It's
productions
fucking
of all
nuts,
time.
man.
Yeah.
It's all kinds, dude. I really want to know where the money is coming from.
We'll have to take a look.
I mean,
But
it's a monumental amount of money, it seems like.
that, though, however, is the story of how we got Superman, the movie from 1978, and that is superhero stuff you should know.
Boom, baby. Thanks, Ben.
What did you think of these anecdotes?
I love it. I mean, shit, man. You know, like I said before, I wasn't a huge Superman fan growing up. I mean, I liked him, obviously, but, you know, Batman was, you know, still, I guess, to this day, mainly my guy. But Superman, something about Man of Steel, I know that sounds ridiculous to most people, but then I went back and went through all the comics and the movies and everything. And something about it, man. I mean, Superman in general, not just this movie, but Superman in general is kind of this like successful marriage of down home country apple pie America and sci-fi.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Like there's something, and of course Greek mythology and all that kind of shit.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? And Jewish mythology. I don't know what you want to call it.
Christianity as well, yeah.
Yeah, Christianity later on. And there's something interesting to me. Like the main thing other than powers, well, powers are part of the sci-fi aspect, but the whole like it being like kind of a sci-fi hero is one of the main differences between Batman being crime noir kind of thing. I mean, of course there's sci-fi aspects to him, especially his gadgets and shit like that, but I don't know. I'm just long-winded way to say I'm a big fan of Superman. I'm glad we're doing this. Of course I love pop culture history. We all know that. And movie history, and this is a big one. This is a big one.
Exactly.
So
it's a fantastic start, I think. Like it's an insane story. That's why we had to devote the whole podcast to just this and how this was even made. Just the sheer luck and happenstance just to get John Williams' theme into this.
right,
The not throwing out Christopher Reeve's headshot, Donner being how instrumental he is and how many times he nearly walked away. Like so many things could have gone wrong.
it's a Motley Crue kind of sounds like with a lot of money behind it, but it's man.
Yeah.
It's great. I wondered, so did they shoot a shitload and kind of found it in the edit? Is that kind of how it seems?
Yeah, because that's how there's so many scenes.
Right.
And plus, also they shot Superman the movie and Superman 2 simultaneously. That's how there's a Donner
They did.
cut.
That's at the same time.
That's how there's a Donner cut.
Right.
Because Donner shot those alongside Superman in the movie.
It
So
must have been wild.
Hackman and Brando had shot their Superman and Superman 2 scenes all at once.
That's crazy, but I mean it makes sense. Why
Yeah.
not?
Except, of
Shit,
course,
man.
Hackman was brought back for Superman 2 with Richard Lester to redo those scenes, but still.
Right. And a shitload of reshoots.
Well, the reshoots were basically Richard Lester. Again, it's,
Yeah.
it's the Josh Whedon
Yeah, it's the whole thing over
situation.
again.
Yeah.
It's always Warner Brothers too.
Well, in this case, it was actually the Salkinds who made that call.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
Can't say it's completely Warner Brothers, but yeah, we'll
Under their watch, though.
True. So, on our next episode, we will go into everything you don't know about Superman the movie as we go through the movie in terms of behind-the-scenes stuff you might not have known, as well as what was in the original scripts that did not make it on screen or weren't even filmed. So
Love
that should
it.
be interesting.
I'm sad it's over, Ben. At least for this week.
Yes, indeed.
Oh,
but we
shit.
do have some fan comments to hold us over.
Oh, yes.
So I feel like you should read this one in a southern accent because Sparkageddon 318 had a nice comment for us on our unlimited Batman Returns script deep dive.
Okay, man, I want you to know, I'm assuming you're a guy, if we trust our YouTube analytics anyway, but I am from the South, Georgia and Alabama, so hopefully I won't offend you because we're from the same area, probably. I'm such a big fan of y'all's page since since watching y'all version of the script, y'all tell it fully like it's a movie. We actually watching while others tell half of it. I wonder, is this version is what they using as well in Matt Reeves' The Batman film as well, as far as the concept with others? Thank you, my man.
We'll see. Thank you, though. Thank you, Sparkageddon 318.
Sparkageddon.
For your compliments on us guiding you through that script stuff. So that's awesome. Thank you very much. I also wanted to do a shout out to Jeremy Harris, who has left 2 comments to us in previous episodes.
Oh shit!
Keep the Superman deep dives coming, and the one before that was please do the deep dive episodes for all the Superman scenes. I think he meant movies.
Okay, yeah. Well, they're coming.
Well, they're here. So hopefully you enjoyed this one. So we'll hit you up on YouTube to make sure that you get a little bit of this.
Just as the wholesome holidays are coming, such as Thanksgiving and Christmas, we get the wholesome boy himself.
Yes.
By the way, another trivia: Man of Steel, Man of Tomorrow. There's actually a shitload of them, but there's a third one that's probably it's like the Cape Crusader. They stopped using it a little bit, but people know Cape Crusader.
Right.
You know what the third one is?
Is it Last on a Krypton?
Okay, maybe that's 3, but what's 4? This is sort of a deep cut. The Metropolis Marvel.
Oh.
You ever heard that?
I wonder why they stopped using that. No, I'd heard of it.
Yeah, it's a little silly.
It's just so, like, little used. And plus, like, it probably got confusing with Captain Marvel.
Yeah, it's true.
With the Shazam stuff. And then even more confusing once Marvel
I just find it funny.
That is funny,
It's
though.
funny. Big Blue,
Metropolis
Soups.
Marvel,
He's got a shitload of names, you know?
He does, yeah. But, yeah, it's awesome.
Okay. As always, I would like to thank Kuki Noms, Matt Herring, Elijah B., Shamrock Balls, Aaron Willett, Ian H., Dan D., Leon O., and Super Inframan. Please join the Shasta Army at patreon.com/superherostuffpod. We have a many a tier there. Most importantly, would be the $5 tier, in which Ben and I regale the listener with deeper dives and many things like that. Mm-hmm. That's a $5 tier every week, by the way. So yeah,
you're not paying $5 per episode. You're paying $5 per month to get extra episodes.
Yeah, it's about $1 an episode, probably. Well, a little something like that. Again, not great at math. Better at language. Okay, so where was I? Oh yeah, please leave us a review in iTunes. And the phone bumper, man, please. That's we could use a few more of those. Zach keeps sending us fucking
send us a new one.
10 plus A+ ones. We want you to be like Zach.
Yes, please be like Zach.
So send us like funny voice, or tell us how much you like the pod, or something like a YouTube comment, or you're now listening to Superhero Stuff You Should Know. Mm-hmm. And we'll put that in the podcast. You've listened to these before. It usually comes in right after the break. So, yeah, please send us that. Voice recording, use your voice recorder app. It's on your phone. You probably already have it. You didn't even know that. And then send that to the email superhousepodcast@gmail.com. And you can be on the show that way. So that'll be sweet. And then I am Thunderwolf Drew on Twitter and Instagram. And please check us out on YouTube if you're not already. If you've been a podcast listener, which is awesome, of course, but you can also see us on YouTube. And it's like basically the same thing but visual.
Yes.
So it's like what Rogan does. Okay? And then, yeah. Basically, that's it.
Nice.
Ben.
You can also check us out on Instagram at Superhero Stuff Pod. You can also check out my Instagram at Ben1Writer. And after that, we will give you a little bit of a preview. As I said, next week will be everything you don't know about Superman the movie. We'll be discussing all the script stuff that didn't make it in, at least that we know of. One of whom was by the Bens and Newmans, and the other one being by Tom Mankiewicz. So make sure to check that out. This is Ben signing off.
This is Andrew signing off. Krypton!